It's Easter, and we here at IGN love looking for Easter eggs in our video games. You know, those little secrets that are tucked away in the corners. So today we're going to share a few of our favorite video game Easter eggs with you.
It's my favorite Easter egg. It's actually one of the earlier ones I can remember, and it comes from Day of the Tentacle. Now, I was playing through the game. This is one of my earlier adventure games, and all of a sudden I made it to Weird Ed's bedroom, and I saw a computer there. And if you use the computer, all of a sudden it boots up this separate game called Maniac Mansion. Now, I had no idea that Maniac Mansion even exists, let alone that Day of the Tentacle was a sequel to Maniac Mansion. And so finding this other game, which didn't look quite as good as Day of the Tentacle, but had some of the same characters, just sort of really confused me, and the entire game was in there. And obviously it wasn't for a little bit later until I realized that, yeah, so LucasArts put the original game in the sequel as an actual thing that exists in the world, and I thought that was so cool at the time.
My favorite Easter egg is the grunt at the end of Halo 3. On the last mission, if you stop that warthog as the world's exploding all around you, you go around the little cliff and you find a grunt just hanging out by himself, taunting you. It talks about the Chief's past, and that's something we didn't really get a lot in the games. Anyway, that's one of my favorite Easter eggs in Halo.
My favorite Easter egg in a video game has to be Billy Mitchell's tie in Donkey Kong Country Returns. If you don't know who Billy Mitchell is, he's the main antagonist in King of Kong, which is an indie film that came out a few years ago, and he's one of the people who has the highest score ever for Donkey Kong. And so when I was playing Donkey Kong Country Returns, you can see this rock wall in the background, and it's in the shape of an American tie. And I was like, is that a tie? Is that an American tie? Is that Billy Mitchell's American tie?
My favorite Easter egg is from the Stanley Parable, a game with so many different paths that it's almost impossible to find all the endings without a guide. But if you torment the narrator in just the right combination of ways, he'll drop you in the middle of another game, Minecraft. And then from there, the beginning of Portal. That's really cool.
My favorite Easter egg comes from GTA 3. Now in college, I played way too much GTA 3. I had this PlayStation 2. I had to do something with it. So I just played and played and played and played and played. And finally, on my own, this is why it's so important, on my own, discovered this section that I saw out of the corner of my eye that I knew I could get to if I parked my car here, climbed up there, jumped over there, and eventually you jump over there and it's like this eerily empty area of Liberty City with all these buildings, and you turn around this corner and there's a sign the developers put up that says, "You weren't supposed to be able to get here, you know." And I remember finding that and flipping out, right? Because I had found it on my own, I didn't use a guide, I didn't use the internet, and it really proved to me that I had too much time on my hands and needed to go talk to someone at college.
So my favorite Easter egg is from Assassin's Creed 2 when Ezio is on his way to the villa and he's handing his uncle a sword not knowing who he is, and his uncle goes,
"It's a me, Mario!"
And I like it because it was a throwback to another Italian character from Super Mario Brothers.
My 6 favorite Easter eggs are all hidden in Banjo-Kazooie, along with an ice key. They're really cool. Mumbo Jumbo tells you that there's some Easter eggs in the game hidden with little question marks on them, but to find them all, you actually couldn't. You had to hack the game and find most of the eggs by entering these strange codes in a sandcastle. The whole point was that you could actually take out your Banjo-Kazooie cartridge and then pop in your Banjo-Tooie cartridge, and the stuff you collected in Banjo-Kazooie would actually unlock in Banjo-Tooie. Well, this was never realized. They never included this because popping out your video game cartridge and putting in a different one is probably not a great idea. So you actually couldn't complete this Easter egg, and we still to this day don't know about every one of its effects.
My favorite Easter egg is from my favorite video game, The Guardian Legend. If you add TGL into the password section, you actually get a totally remixed version of the game. The Guardian Legend is this sprawling sci-fi adventure game, but if you put in the password, you get to just the action sequences. This is the type of Easter egg that I would like to see developers learn from because it really gives you 2 games in one.
So my favorite Easter egg is actually from a console instead of a video game. Holding down the Z button on one controller of a GameCube when turning on the GameCube would actually play like a samurai kind of sound, whereas holding all 4 Z buttons on all 4 plugged-in controllers would make like a clown sound with squeaky shoes and stuff.
One of the coolest Easter eggs in games is one of the very earliest ones, and is in fact the reason we call them Easter eggs in the first place. It was in a very crude fantasy game Adventure on the Atari 2600. In the later stages of the game, there's a hidden item that's only a pixel big. It's attached to a wall and it's the same color as the wall, so it's very hard to see. That's why they call it a hidden item. But if you take this item all the way back near the beginning of the game, and if there are different items of different colors also in the area, you'll be allowed to pass through a wall and you're greeted with a secret message that says, created by Warren Robinette. He's the designer of the game. Now, Warren never told anyone at Atari that he put his message in the game in Adventure. Some random player actually discovered it and informed Atari. And Atari started calling these little gems Easter eggs and started putting them in games on purpose so players would have something to search for and discover.